So we're here with Jill Franson, the CEO and founder of Digital Ventures. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you, Elena.
We're here in our session to dive deeper into digital adoption, WalkMe, and all things implementations to shed a light into how it really works and how to make the best of it. So if we're ready to get started,
I'm always
let's dive
ready.
in.
Ask what you want to know.
Let's get started. So, I'm pretty confident that people have heard about WalkMe. So, let's not go into cliches and go into demos and explaining WalkMe, but let's dive into the business case for digital adoption. So, why WalkMe is a must-have when we're speaking about digital adoption in an organization?
Why is WalkMe a must-have for any organization? I think the business case for the investment in WalkMe is very, very easy. From more than 300 projects that we have implemented, I can easily get 3, 4, 5x ROI on any investment. And the reason for that is that there are a lot of different use cases that you can address with WalkMe. So most of the people think WalkMe is a training tool. So how do you leverage WalkMe as a digital adoption platform to train and onboard users and employees on your different platforms? So that's one use case. Like how do we guide them step by step through complex processes on Ariba or SuccessFactors or ServiceNow or Salesforce? So that is typically the basic use case that everybody thinks. And there the ROI is then obviously into time to competency of the employees, reduction of training effort. You don't need to do online trainings or classroom trainings. So that is a very easy use case. Then I personally think there is even more value post this initial training use case because you can really leverage WalkMe throughout the year, throughout any platform life cycle to address multiple topics. One I would really like is the reduction of support. So what are the support use cases that come in? How can we avoid them? How can we make sure people don't make the mistakes? Or how can we give quick feedback how people can do things themselves within the platform and thus not creating support tickets? So every support ticket takes, let's say, 5 to 15 minutes to resolve. So start counting if you can reduce 100 tickets per month or even more, depending how big your organization is. Then another use case we often work on is data quality. So how can you ensure people actually put in the right things in the right fields so that you don't have issues downstream in your processes? We have seen it very often. A good example is, for example, SuccessFactors, where you do your replication or your integration with payroll. If things are not properly inserted, the integration runs into error, somebody needs to fix it, or even if it goes through, the payroll might be wrong, or hopefully your payroll team notices it and corrects it. But all these things are not quick fixes. They often take 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and so on to fix. The integration needs to run again. So just simply avoiding these kind of mistakes saves you a lot of time. And then obviously you have also process efficiency. So with WalkMe, you can automate processes. Users don't need to do every click themselves, or high frequency processes you can fully automate by pre-filling fields automatically and so on. So if you start then counting how much time you can reduce for all these processes, another way to add to your business case. And then on top of that, you can drive this continuous change management. So every platform has multiple releases per year. So how can you continuously communicate changes, process changes, new policies, and so on, so that your users and employees are always up to date. And if you start counting all these together, having 3, 4, 5x ROI is easy, and I can calculate that for you on the back of a napkin. So that is why you should invest in WalkMe. Definitely as a mid-sized to larger enterprise, the use case and the business case is so easy. So better start today than tomorrow.
Great. Thank you for that. I want to take what you just started talking about, and that is the best enterprises or best companies that WalkMe is a fit for. Can you explain to us, in your experience, in which organizations WalkMe is a better investment? Who does it make sense for?
So what we typically look at is more mid-size and enterprise customers. Yes, you can definitely also do it for smaller organizations, but it's also you need to have a certain minimum volume of users. If you have 5 users, 10 users, 20 users on an application, personally, I don't think it makes much sense to build content because the effort to build and maintain that will be too big for the number of users that you have. So typically, we target mid-size companies and larger enterprise.
So let's say that a company decides to go with WalkMe and they're starting to think about the implementation aspect. What would be your suggestion for setting that company up for success? What are the key features of a successful project?
So first of all, I would say if you want to be successful with WalkMe, don't see this as a one-off implementation. So it's really something that you need to look at on a longer term to continuously drive value and find new use cases throughout the life cycle of the application. So therefore, key thing, start thinking long term from the beginning. If you then look at the pure initial implementation, there I would think it's often good to start smaller. So start with initial proof of concept or small pilot projects so you can technically set everything up so you can get experience with the platform, get a good basic number of processes or use cases covered, and then build from there. So that is what I would say as a first recommendation when you start implementing WalkMe.
I want to jump back out a little bit and explain the difference between digital adoption and digital transformation. Can you explain to us the difference and the importance of this?
Absolutely. I think digital adoption is part of digital transformation. So, from my perspective, digital transformation goes much wider and it's much more about transforming your company, transforming your enterprise landscape and systems, as well as your processes. And digital adoption is part of that. It's how you can ensure kind of that your digital transformation works and that the investments that you make as part of your digital transformation actually pay off. Because with digital adoption, you make sure that your users are actually using the platforms that you implement or actually adopting the processes that you implement and can execute them correctly. So that is how I would see this larger picture.
Great. And where does WalkMe fit into that for both, I guess?
Yeah. The way I look at digital adoption and digital transformation is it's kind of a full circle. So from our perspective, everything starts with documenting your processes. So you basically need to make sure that you capture the knowledge, you capture your processes, you document them. So that could be in a tool like SAP Signavio if you live in the SAP world, but it could also be plain in Microsoft Visio if you want to do that. Then the next step that you take is really capture the knowledge of the SMEs. So make sure for every process and the individual process steps, there is knowledge articles. So this is something that you can also capture in like Signavio or WalkMe Learning or in knowledge tools like Confluence, for example. That's where you capture really the knowledge and create knowledge. Then from there, once you have your processes, you have your knowledge documented, you can look at how do we want to ensure that now actually our users are understanding the process and can leverage the knowledge. So then you can start looking at more training and enablement. So this is the why. This is still more classical ways like e-learnings, simulations. It could still be classroom trainings. Obviously, that doesn't go away. Typically, you can have maybe leveraged in the past SAP Enable Now, which is now going to be replaced by WalkMe Learning. And there's obviously other tools as well. So that is then more how do you then going to train people? And then the next step in the circle is how do you drive the adoption? And this is then where the historical WalkMe platform comes in. So that's where we split it up in kind of two ways, where we say first step in adoption is training and onboarding. So how do we teach people to actually use the platform? How do we onboard them? So that's more the typical step-by-step training approach to then move into the second more advanced part of digital adoption is where we start driving the automation of the processes, potentially integrating with ActionBot, make it more conversational. So that's the advanced piece. And then obviously nowadays we have to talk about AI, and that potentially at a certain point in time, how do you then develop AI agents and how do you orchestrate these agents to work together? And this is then obviously where WalkMe helps from an orchestration point of view, and where tools like SAP Joule, and there's many others nowadays, can help to drive the agents. But everything starts basically with documenting the processes, documenting the knowledge, and then have multiple different ways to deliver and leverage that knowledge.
Looking into the future, now WalkMe has become part of the SAP family. It's of course going to change a lot or not. Is we are entering in an era of AI, and the importance of these investments is becoming greater and greater by day. How do you see WalkMe change now that it has entered the SAP ecosystem, its growth in relation as well to this growth of AI?
Absolutely. I think the acquisition of WalkMe by SAP has only strengthened and confirmed the use case of WalkMe as a digital adoption platform. So I think it just confirms that this is a tool and a strategic layer that every enterprise needs to have. You can't go without it. You can't do training anymore in the classical way like we used to do it. We need to find multiple different ways to bring knowledge to the users. So I think that just confirms it. Then on the second hand, I think being part of the SAP ecosystem, it will drive also growth for us as partners. The SAP ecosystem is much wider than what WalkMe traditionally was, and it gives a tremendous opportunity to bring this digital adoption mindset to many more customers than we would do before. And then definitely taking into account AI, SAP is also massively investing in this, bringing more and more use cases to SAP Joule. So there, I think it's going to be very interesting again how digital adoption and Joule are working together. We see there the first integrations and how WalkMe can basically help orchestrating also these let's say more use case specific agents, how to work together, where does it make sense to have these kind of agents, where do we still leverage digital adoption, have users doing things. So there's always multiple ways to achieve a result, and I think that is now more and more important to get this kind of mindset from how do we have our processes, how do we have our knowledge, and what is then the right solution to actually deliver the processes and bring the knowledge to the users. So I think that is where it always comes back to. And this will change over time, right? The stronger that AI will become, the more use cases it will cover, the more you can potentially go from users executing or from automated processes to agents executing it. And that's a continuum where we are working on. But again, it comes back to make sure you have your processes and your knowledge documented. And then you can see how you get to the end result.
Great. As a last question, I'd love to hear how, from a more partner perspective, we've been talking to cater to potential clients, to companies that are interested or are implementing WalkMe. As a partner of WalkMe and SAP, how is the role of AI and now the introduction of WalkMe into SAP leading the growth?
So I think for us as a partner and for me it was very good and I was very happy that that SAP acquired WalkMe because I've been historically been an SAP partner with my previous company for more than 10 years, been on the partner council, won SAP Quality Awards, Global Pinnacle Awards. So I was very happy that it was SAP that bought WalkMe. Secondly, SAP is really partner driven. So for partners, it's excellent to work together with SAP. And then I think for us as a partner, as a company, we see tremendous growth. So we are one of the very few WalkMe partners that is really specialized in WalkMe. So we have done this now looking at the year six. And personally, I've been working with WalkMe 9 years now, coming up to 10. So the knowledge in the team is tremendous. And that will give us a lot of head start compared to existing SAP partners that now are jumping on the boat. So there, I think on one side, we will have a lot more projects driven through SAP and the footprint they have. We are partnering with other SAP partners to help them deliver WalkMe projects or to help them build capabilities themselves. So for us as a specialist into WalkMe, that's a tremendous growth opportunity. And then looking a little bit broader beyond the WalkMe perspective, I think now that we're part of the SAP ecosystem and the business transformation suite, we can really tackle and address this vision of implementation, knowledge, training, adoption, and AI in a more holistic manner than what we are previously doing by focusing purely on the adoption part. So that are different ways where as a partner, I see tremendous opportunity for us.
Thank you so much, Jill, for taking the time to answer all of my questions. I'm sure this will be tremendously valuable to our potential clients, fellow partners who'd like to partner as well with us and co-develop projects. So it's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Reina. Thank you for hosting me and asking me those questions.
Thank you.